Welcome back to the You Should Get a License podcast edition, your number one source for information, education, inspiration on the most underrated career path in business today. That is a career in the insurance and financial services industry. Today, very, very exciting because we have, one of the leaders of the new school, essentially, for this business, Mr. Calvin Royster Jr. He's the founder and owner of A New Financial. They're a full service brokerage firm, really serving the Black millennial community and just doing some great things. Has helped thousands of people. And he's from my hometown, Richmond, Virginia. So he's on the home team. I want to give it up. Say welcome, Mr. Calvin Royster Jr. to You Should Get a License. Hey, Calvin, thank you for being here, good brother. Appreciate you.
Absolutely. Thank you for this and the platform, being able to share the license experience and the opportunities in the industry. I think that's dope.
Hey, thank you, man. And that's really what this is all about. So, when we're speaking on this platform, many of our listeners are people who are, I like to call them familiar. So they may be familiar with the industry. Maybe they're in the process of working on their licensing. They're in a pre-licensing course, or they're new to the industry. And they're learning from, professionals who have essentially been there, done that. Let me ask you as we get started, what's your area of specialty? I know you say you're full service, right? So when you say full service, what lines of insurance, financial services do you offer to your clients and customers on a day-to-day?
Sure. So I think the first way to look at it, full service, just meaning all the lines of, I won't say all lines, most lines of insurance I will handle through my agency. As far as a specialty and a niche, because I do focus on the Black millennial household, I deal with a lot of young professionals, entrepreneurs, startup companies. So for that reason, a lot of times what comes through my door is auto insurance, life insurance, and then commercial, whether it be commercial auto or general liability, things like that. So those are like the three main focal points that we focus in on at the agency.
Awesome, man. So let me ask you that. What? And I want to get into some detail with it too. But
sure.
But what is it that kind of, not what led you here, but at this point, what is it that you enjoy? Like, why do you enjoy being in this industry? If you had to kind of summarize it.
Man, I would say just and this is going to sound cliche, but just the ability to serve people, because, a long time, not even diving all the way into the story, but, through my career path, I had a struggle trying to find something where I could have an opportunity to make good money and feel like I was adding value to my community. I would either make money and not be adding value, or adding a lot of value and not making money. But insurance actually allowed me the ability to marry the two. And the ability to be able to feel good about being able to be committed to my community and not worry about, having to put food on the table was the ideal situation for me.
Yeah. Why do you feel like, I'm glad you mentioned that too, because just to kind of hover on that for a minute, because you said, hey, there are opportunities where, you want to be of service to the community, right? And you can do things where you can make, a lot of money. You can really do well, but you might not be bringing the value that you want to bring. And then there are other things where, you can really dive in and do a lot for the community, but you might not be able to produce the economic resources that are necessary to really forward, what your initiatives are. And I'm refreshed to hear you, speaking of this industry, the insurance industry, financial services, as a way to kind of bridge that gap. That's one of the primary objectives that, I want people to really pay attention to, is that it does allow you to not only add a tremendous value to your community, to your family, to those around you, but also can be very lucrative as well, right? It's a powerful industry. Why do you feel like people are intimidated, by this business?
I would say it's just, I think it's the perception of it, right? Like when I think of insurance, I think of, middle-aged or older white male, because that's, to be honest, I think we even talked about this. If you look at the dynamic and the makeup of the industry, we represent about 8% of the industry as far as agents and brokers and things like that. So when it comes to that, I just think, we may be intimidated by, how to represent the industry. We don't really think that's for us. This is something for other people to do. It might be, and then and this is kind of where I found my, again, niching down, was I also think that the other part of the perception is that it's kind of dry. I'm trying to find the best way to put it, but kind of dry, stiff, not exciting. And so I said, when I come into this space and I go off onto my own, because I did work under others for a while, I want to freshen up. I want to make it exciting and sexy if possible. And so, that's where I kind of found my lane, adding humor, entertainment, and showing it as in a different light. And so I've actually had fun in doing that. And I've created a whole little, I don't say character, but an alter ego, we'll call it, named Insurance Bay, which has been great for marketing.
Yeah, we see that on your social media. You'll make sure that they got links to check out Insurance.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, Insurance Bay is wonderful, man. Great for marketing, but it gives me a space in the lane to be creative, have fun, put insurance in different light. And it's allowed, for a lot more conversations I found with millennials and things like that because of the approach of it all. Hey, we don't have to be in suit and tie to talk insurance. We don't have to talk about, you passing. We don't have to talk about this, that, and the other. We can put it in a way that you can digest it, but first and foremost, are willing to listen to it. And so I think that's what makes it so intimidating, just the perceptions that are out there of it. And, it's just about us as agents kind of taking onus and recreating that narrative for ourselves.
Very powerful, very powerful. So let's take a minute and kind of go back. You touched earlier on, your journey and doing different things. I want to go all the way back, 9-10 years old. Okay, Calvin Royster Jr. What were you dreaming of? Now hold on. You're native of Richmond? Native of Richmond?
I'm not. So born in California. But
okay.
Essentially, I was raised in Central Virginia. So
okay, born in Cali, came out East Coast, settled in, took over, became Insurance Bay, got the guns on IG. I got you, right? Okay,
that's right.
Not 9-10 years old. What were you dreaming of being when you grew up?
It's funny you say that. So around 9 or 10, honestly, if I remember correctly, I was telling people I wanted to work at Walmart because my dad worked at Walmart. So they were like, that's great, but is there anything else you like to do? And I'm like, I don't know. So, but a little backstory to that, I had always been in some dynamic and form and shape of sales. So my very first sales hustle business, whatever you want to call it, I was about 4 or 5 years old, and I was probably 5. I was actually selling stickers. My family came over, and I would get a blank piece of paper. I would put my little stickers on it, my little sticker book, and then I would go try to sell it to them for a quarter or whatever I was trying to sell it for. They, to this day, won't let me live that down. That's why I so vividly know the details of that. But so that was like my first thing. So I've always been around and involved in some form of sales. But, around 9-10, I was probably thinking Walmart.
But you know what? That goes, that's powerful, right? And no diss, because, people that work at Walmart, respectable employment, if you make an honest living, it's respectable.
Absolutely.
But it's all about like what you're exposed to, right? Because that's what you saw. Just like we see, many times in this industry, people who have grown up around it end up joining the industry, taking over their parents' organizations. There's a few of us who've been able to do that and really do it on a high level. Shout out to Quincy Branch and Branch Benefits. But there's the majority aren't necessarily, people who are going to look like you or I, right? Who have that legacy. How'd you find your way, into this space? Like, what's your career journey like coming out of, and take me back, coming from high school and all the way up?
All right. So in high school, I was actually, believe it or not, I was a troublemaker in high school, man. got around the wrong crowd and made a lot of bad decisions. I will call it that. And I scooted out of high school, man. I barely got out. And I remember at one point in time, I was ready to drop out of high school. And when I realized that all of my friends at the time, that they were still actually graduating. I thought we were all ready to quit together and go live, the life that we were talking about. But I realized, man, I'm gonna be the only one that's dropping out. Everybody else is actually graduating. So the last second I kicked it in gear. I had to get through one class. I passed it. And then, there goes the graduation. So from there, I actually made a decision to pivot my life and make better choices, get around different people. And I picked up a job serving 2 for $20s at Applebee's. And so I did that for just under a year. I want to say I was walking to work, and I'm gonna sound real old school here, but I used to actually have to walk because my license was already suspended. And I'm not even 18. Well, I think I was just 18, 19. My license was suspended since I was like 16 years old. So I didn't have any driving privileges. So I actually would walk over a mile, but I think it was closer to 3 miles to work each way. And I would do that. See, get rid of that. All right, cool. So am I on there? Okay, cool. So yeah, so I was walking each way to work about 2-3 miles, and I did that, and I grinded, saved up, got my first car. So now I've got my first car, and I'm actually doing pretty good as a waiter. And sure enough, I get into a wreck after having the car for about 2 weeks. I'm turning my life around. I got my license finally. Finally got my first car. I'm 19. I'm like, yes, it's like everything's going the way it's supposed to go. And 2 weeks later, somebody totaled my car. Motorcycles weaving in and out of the traffic, totals the car. So when that happens, the claims adjuster for, I guess, his company came out, and they were actually their logo was wrapped around the car. And, naive young version of Calvin was like, man, I can if I go get a job like how they have, I can only have a career, but I can get a car. So I need a car. I can get a 2-for-1 if I just go find an insurance company to apply for. So there was one, Geico, always hiring. And I was like, well, let me go try Geico. Everybody and their mama works at Geico. So let me go apply there. Apply to Geico, get through the interview process. And, that was a great experience because they help you get your license, they go through the classes, they pay for everything. So that was my introduction to the industry.
Wow. Let's pause right there for a minute, because it's always interesting to find how people got introduced to the business. That's the first time I've ever heard anybody ever say, I saw the person driving this car, and I was like, if I get into insurance, this company car. Man,
I can't use a car right now, so let me see. You guys hiring?
Hey, but you have a point, right? It's like whatever works, and it's like, man, look at where we are now.